be pleased. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sandra? Nope. Great. Item 1.3, approval of minutes of July 31st, 2014.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Robles.
Try not to make eye contact.
Ms. Solis. Aye. Mrs. Quintanilla. Aye. Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye. 1.6.
Item 1.6, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.6.1, representatives from the El Paso Chamber of Commerce will make a presentation on the Central Appraisal District.
Welcome, Ms. Butler.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Fierro, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Serrata. My name is Jackie Butler, and I am the Vice President of Government Relations for the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to present our recommendations on the Central Appraisal District to you today. You should be getting in front of you a folder which includes the Chamber's resolution, our policy brief, the Central Appraisal District's response letter to the Chamber, the PowerPoint slides that are going to be shown today, and comparative Central Appraisal District summaries from across the state. To summarize the issue, homeowners and business owners alike suffer from a cloudy and unpredictable valuation process that threatens the stability of our economy through budget variations. The same problems will continue to affect business development and the local economy as long as they are ignored. This instability extends to taxing entities, such as El Paso Community College as well. Although the Chamber has no authority, which we would like to emphasize, to bind elected bodies, we endeavor to marshal stakeholders so that a meaningful conversation about the Central Appraisal District can begin. Many simple steps to improve the Central Appraisal District may be taken at the local level through the Central Appraisal District's Board of Directors or through the taxing entities themselves, including training for board members, removing Central Appraisal District obligations from the very full plate of elected officials, and allowing for an at-large selection process. Other, larger efforts would require legislative changes, as pointed out by the Central Appraisal District's response to the Chamber in their letter. Representative Pickett has mentioned an interest in the issue and a desire to introduce legislation that might be addressed during the next session. And the Chamber is also looking at potential legislation that can be included in our 2015 state legislative agenda. No single step or silver bullet will resolve the issues troubling the Central Appraisal District. That is why a combined effort between local and state stakeholders is critical. To discuss the Central Appraisal District Board issues, El Paso is the only major appraisal district in Texas and the only Metro 8 city in Texas that appoints elected officials as a matter of course. Bexar County has one elected official who just happens to be a county commissioner, but that was a choice and not an entitlement, as is the case in El Paso. State statute actually permits elected officials to serve on CAD boards, but it does not require members to be elected officials. We feel that elected officials don't necessarily have the time required to review all of the information they are asked to consider and to learn the complicated valuation appraisal system. Also, there is no required training, nor is attendance required. While the Central Appraisal District lacks authority to mandate training or attendance at board meetings, taxing entities themselves could require this from prospective nominees to the board. Having board members represent specific taxing entity creates inherent conflicts of interest and allows for bigger fish to dominate smaller taxing entities. Texas Tax Code 6.03 outlines a statutory voting process in which Central Appraisal District board members are appointed by a vote of the governing bodies of taxing entities. A governing body may cast all of its votes for one candidate or distribute them among candidates for any number of directorships. Voting entitlement among taxing entities is determined by dividing the total amount of property taxes imposed in the district by the total dollar amount of property taxes imparted to each taxing entity. This allows for larger taxing entities to get more votes. Essentially, the current method of appointing representatives to the Central Appraisal District Board minimizes smaller entities' voices and goes against the statutory voting process that was put in place. The tax code further stipulates that a taxing entity may nominate one candidate for each position on the board to be filled. Nominations are not required. Again, as a condition for nomination, the taxing entities could require nominees to pledge a certain level of attendance and to commit to training. Tarrant County, which you can find on the 6th tab of your folders, has the truest compliance with Texas law. They do not require entities to submit nominees. Therefore, taxing entities may vote for whichever nominee they feel possess the best qualifications to serve on the Central Appraisal District Board. Dallas, for example, has an appointment election hybrid. However, unlike in Tarrant County, voting entities in Dallas may vote only for nominees that would represent them on the board. Therefore, entities must make nominations and the entities may not cast at-large votes. In reference to the Appraisal Review Board, the standards of appointment require very little, and even with a mandatory training session recently instituted by the state, the level of expertise is not what it could be. ARB members can be and are staggered in other districts, and doing so permits better continuity. The Texas legislature recently shifted responsibility for ARB member appointment in large counties and districts, including El Paso, to administrative judges. However, this move has had little effect in addressing the quality of ARB members. Moving on to valuation issues, the valuation process also lacks transparency. The comparable properties used to justify assigned values often lack a methodical process, and we have heard many examples from our members and anecdotes about unequal property valuations. The most frequently used methods of property valuation are cost to build, market value, and the income approach. Property owners have no incentive to make improvements to their properties because they do not know what will happen to their property values, nor whether they will be able to afford the changes in the values. If they dispute the process, they may not be able to afford the lawyers and contingency fee appraisers needed to fight the adversarial system. The appeals process is also cumbersome and benefits only lawyers and contingency fee appraisers. We feel that there should always be a legitimate reason for assigned increases in valuations, and the reason should be as transparent as possible. Although the law provides for an increase of 10% in residential property values, it does not mean that increasing by 10% should be the goal. The statutory maximum is not a blank check. Taxing entities also sometimes rely to their detriment on pre-appeal values. For example, we can think of the Western refining issue that occurred 2 years ago. The Central Appraisal District Director and its staff should advise taxing entities of large valuation changes that may artificially inflate the pre-appeals numbers. Western refining 2 years ago went beyond the call of duty in sending letters to the taxing entities, but the Central Appraisal District should have that responsibility. Furthermore, taxing entities themselves should be responsible enough to budget such large pre-appeal changes in a way that does not incorporate significantly increased valuations to their budget until the issue is resolved through appeals. So thinking about realistic next steps for incorporating our recommendations, Taxing entities can add accountability and competence to the board by requiring nominees to commit to minimum attendance and training standards. Taxing entities can also impose additional requirements, setting minimum competency standards for all appointments. Elected officials should not be appointed to the Central Appraisal District simply as a matter of course. Potential conflicts between representing taxing entities and constituents could present themselves. Furthermore, continuity issues result from having elected officials hold board positions. The time commitment required also asks a lot of our elected officials. The taxing entity should follow the tax statute as laid out by the state and have all board members appointed through a nomination and voting process. Taxing entities should not have to depend on local business to notify them of budgetary landmines. And that responsibility should lie with the Central Appraisal District. And finally, taxing entities should set a notification threshold, which would have the Central Appraisal District submit notice once the aggregate valuation differences reached a certain level. For example, if they knew that that a property valuation deviation was greater than, say, 0.1% of a taxing entity's budget, then that taxing entity would be notified. In conclusion, many of the recommendations that we are asking be considered would require El Paso to take a lead in Central Appraisal District reform. Some of them would require the taxing entities merely to follow the law as it is stipulated in the tax code, as opposed to following customs that deviate from the statute. Some of the reforms would require legislative action at the state level, so it would require all community stakeholders to be persistent and patient with the process. And finally, we'd like to emphasize that we don't believe that there is a silver bullet, so reform must be multifaceted and collaborative. That concludes my presentation. And pending any questions, thank you for your time.
Any comments or questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Item 1.6.2, Dr. William Sarata, President, will recognize individuals who have retired from the College District.
Good evening, members of the board. Always a bittersweet moment of recognizing well-earned retirements. And this particular time of the year, as we head into the new academic year in August, this is always the time that we unfortunately recognize the majority of our retirees. And with that, I'd give where's Mr. Cano? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Cano. Front and center, please. Yes. Antonio Cano. Mr. Tony Cano began his career at El Paso Community College in December of 2002 as a campus maintenance technician. He was assigned to the Administrative Services Center Building A, where he has served his 12-year career with the college. His previous employment was at UTEP and performing maintenance at a local church. Mr. Cano is the type of person that greets everyone with a smile, has a great outlook on life, and always strives to provide outstanding customer service. He plans to do some traveling and spend time with his wife and family during his retirement. Mr. Cano is a unique individual with many talents, and his successor will have some big shoes to fill. He has many friends at EPCC, and he will be missed by all, including me. Thank you, Mr. Cano, for your service to the institution. Please.
I want to thank Mr. Rick Lovato. He made a good job on it.
Thank you, Mr. Lovato.
Give it a good one.
Professor Sharon Dickinson. Thank you, Professor. As Professor comes up, Professor Sharon K. Dickinson has held the position of coordinator of the Dental Assisting Program at El Paso Community College since 1982. She has been actively involved in the dental profession as a chairside assistant, office manager, consultant, and educator. She attended West Texas State University, leaving there to obtain a certification in dental assisting at the Medical Institute of Colorado. Ms. Dickinson is considered a curriculum expert in infection control, serving on the infection control test development committees of the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners and the Dental Assisting National Board. Ms. Dickinson is active in the community, providing education in oral health and the importance of providing a dental home to other health-related professionals. She was a recipient of the Me Piper Award and the NISOT Award of Excellence in 2010, both prestigious awards. A statement from her colleague. As the coordinator of the Dental Assistant Program, Ms. Sharon K. Dickinson has demonstrated not only to El Paso Community College, but also to the community a true sense of passion and commitment towards education. She has spent her career not only being an instructor, but becoming a mentor to her students. She has been not only the coordinator for her faculty, but a loyal and honest friend who has looked out for them and has had strong influence in guiding their careers. Even though she steps down from the coordination, she leaves an irrefutable legacy for the coming generations and an inspiration for the future faculty. Congratulations and thank you so much. Would Ms. Maria Guerrero please join me? Ms. Guerrero started her post-secondary studies at El Paso Community College in 1982 and began working at the EPCC admissions office as a work study. In 1986, she was hired as a full-time intake specialist in the admissions office. During that time, she started her studies at Park University and then transferred to Webster University, where she completed her bachelor's degree in social psychology and her master's degree in counseling. In 1996, Ms. Guerrero became a part-time counselor serving both the Trans Mountain and Rio Grande campuses. Subsequently, she was hired as a tenure-track counselor. In 2014, Ms. Guerrero completed 18 years of service at the Rio Grande campus as a health counselor with a specialty in nursing. Ms. Guerrero has been a great asset to El Paso Community College. Through her community involvement, she has demonstrated her true desire to assist students and the community at large. She will be greatly missed by faculty, co-workers, and students. We wish her well in all of her future endeavors. Thank you, Maria, for a job well done. Charlotte Hollis, would you please join me at the podium? There you are, Charlotte. We're recognizing 20 years of service with Ms. Hollis. Ms. Hollis began her career with El Paso Community College in January 2004. She has served as a librarian at many other libraries, both in higher education and in the public. Her favorite and longest job at EPCC has been as the reference librarian and head librarian at the Rio Grande campus. She has served on many committees at El Paso Community College, including the Rio Grande IE Committee, Information Technology Committee, Leadership Academy, and Integrated Technology Committee, campus leadership teams, and club advisor. She was a recipient of a Diamond Award in 2010. Well done and congratulations. She also works with the Border Educational Technology Conference and the READ program at Roosevelt and Oye School as outreaches from the college, and continues to work with the Amigo Amblers Volksmark, thank you, club, and is very active in her church. It is always a challenge to keep up with technology, and the library field is no exception. But Charlotte was fortunate to attend some library conferences to help keep us up to date. She plans to travel out of state and the country. Thank you for your service. Ms. Racine. There you go. Ms. Racine has been employed as a full-time radiation therapy instructor since January of 2003. Marie's experience spans over 3 decades in the radiation therapy field, from her initial education in a Vermont hospital to the United States Army and her training as an instructor. It all started with a high school career brochure and the $200 scholarship. Ms. Racine has professional and state licenses in radiation therapy and radiography. Among her awards are recipient of the Minnie Stevens Piper Award for the 2013-14 academic year, again a very prestigious award. Outstanding Alumnus Division of Health Sciences, 1993, nominated as Outstanding Woman in the Fort Worth Commission of Status of Women in 1991. She is a graduate of the El Paso Community College Leadership Academy in 2009, a member of several professional radiologic organizations. Among some of her appointments to the state office are chairman of TDH MRT, Ad Hoc Committee for Non-Certified Technicians, Advisory Board, Texas Department of Health, Medical Radiologic Technologist. Her local appointments include board chairman, North Texas Society of Radiation Therapists and co-founder, chairman, Bylaw Committee, NTSRT, Fort Worth Society of Radiologic Technologists, and other advisory committees. Ms. Racine is active in the community at the YWCA and American Society of Radiologic Technologists. So back to the $200 scholarship. Ms. Racine says the $200 scholarship sows the seeds of a new endowment. It wasn't so much the money as the validation I got from Dr. Joe Foley, says Ms. Racine. Imagine if a radiologist in the second year of training directed you to visit an attorney to receive a scholarship. That scene from 1961 is still vivid in my mind when I called the ASRT Foundation to set up an endowment inspired by a lifetime of success in radiation therapy. I've personally seen a lot of my students struggling financially as they're trying to reach their goals. For those students who have received scholarships, the joy and pride expressed on their faces is priceless. That's why I'd like to start this scholarship and maybe help some other folks who are in similar situations. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your service.
Ms. Chavez?
Good evening, Dr. Serrata, Chairman Fierro, Board of Trustees, fellow colleagues. Thank you very much for having us this evening. We will be brief because we know your agenda is long, but we want to share with you this year's events. This is our 13th year that we have been having Hispanic Heritage. May I ask Doroteo Franco? Oh, you're here. Okay. In this year's events, we're having what's called Restoration, Bridging Culture, Life, and Future, Hispanic Heritage 2014. And before we get into the program, I wanted to identify some individuals, part of the committee that is here this evening, because they, along with many others, have helped come through not only this year, but other years. If you please stand, Jaime Aragon, Rebecca Bell, Elvira Carrizal Dukes, excuse me, of course, Doroteo Franco, co-chair, James Heine, Jim, Alex Hernandez, Lily Johnston, and Luz Roberts. I think let's please give them a hand for helping us with this. We're very excited about doing this year's events, and we have a lot of sponsors that have been helping us this year. I do want to mention up front that Southwest Airlines has given us 2 free tickets, so they will be given at our mentors dinner to entice people to come to our dinner. I also want to invite each and every one of you to be there and be part of us. That's part of what we come and present to you and to our community and to our board so that we can have participation to these outstanding events. With that being said, I'd like to turn it to Doroteo, who will show us our program. Doroteo?
Members of the board, President Serrata, we have an exciting lineup this year. As you can see, our theme this year, Restoration, Bridging Culture, Life, and Future, is based on an art piece by Gabriel Gaitan. Next. This is some of our marketing material. This is a poster that you'll see posted in various areas. Next. This is our flyer that has the program of events. Next. We're doing panel discussions on those 3 topics. The first panel discussion on culture is a Chicano literature presentation. Daniel Chacon, Tim Z. Hernandez are faculty at UTEP. Mr. Chacon has written several books. He's also co-editor of The Last Supper of Chicano Heroes. Mr. Hernandez is a son of migrant workers. He grew up in California. Recently, he was teaching out of Boulder, Colorado. He accepted a position at UTEP and will be teaching this semester in the creative writing program. Yasmin Ramirez and Roberto Santos are faculty members here at EPCC. Sergio Troncoso grew up in the Lower Valley, graduated from Isleta High School, went on to Harvard and then to Yale. He writes full-time, goes around the country doing presentation at schools and various organizations. Our moderator for this event is Minerva Laviaga. She is also faculty here at EPCC. Our next discussion panel on the topic of life is a Borderland Immigration Issues discussion panel. We've invited the Honorable Veronica Escobar, the county judge, Benjamin Huffman, who is the chief border patrol agent of the El Paso sector, and Carlos Spector, attorney at law. Moderator for this event is Angela Cocherga. She recently broadcasted out of Honduras on the immigration issues that we're experiencing. We have 2 panel discussions on future. The first one is education excellence. We've invited 4 of the superintendents, Mr. Cabrera from El Paso, Dr. De La Torre Isleta, Dr. Espinosa from Socorro, and Dr. Pedro Galaviz from Canutillo, and they'll be joining Dr. Serrata and discussing education excellence. Following this panel, the second half, we have students from the early college high school, and they'll be giving us their perspective on education excellence. The moderator for the Education Excellence panel is Dr. Karina Ramirez, President of Faculty Association, and also professor here at EPCC. The last panel discussion on future is on economic development. So we have Mr. Dave from El Paso Chamber of Commerce, Matthew McElroy, he's a city development director. We also invited the Fort Bliss Garrison Commander, Colonel Muncie. He'll be joining us, along with Rolando Pablo, CEO of the Borderplex Alliance. The moderator for this event is Roberto Tinajero from the UTEP Institute for Policy and Economic Development. Following this panel, the second half, we're bringing together the 3 mayors from El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez, and asking them to give us an economic forecast of their respective area. Along with that, we have a celebration at Rio Grande on September 16th from 10 to 2 p.m. We also have literature, visual, and performing arts coordination, and they'll be doing some presentations as well during the panel discussions. We have faculty that are doing Chicano literature readings at different campuses. This will be going on at Valle Verde, Trans Mountain, and Northwest Campus. We're honoring at the Mentors Dinner on October 8th this year, we're honoring Lucia Costa, the first female board member of the college. She's also the co-founder and developer of Project Amistad. Dr. Lucy Scarborough, director and founder of Chopin, an accomplished pianist, and also founder of the El Paso Civic Orchestra. We're honoring Honorable Paul Moreno for his 40 years of legislative service, the longest Hispanic serving legislator. And finally, Denise Chavez. She's an author out of Las Cruces with ties in both El Paso and Las Cruces. We've also extended an invitation to Congressman Joaquin Castro to be our keynote speaker, and we're waiting on his confirmation. As Olga mentioned earlier, we have a pretty good size committee. Without their help, it would be very difficult, impossible to do a lot of this work. So thank you to all the committee members. We also have several donors that have given us door prizes to present to the people on the panel members, and also to present out to the students and audience during these events. Thank you.
With that being said, again, we invite each and every one of you to come, and as you see, we have a full-fledged schedule, and we're very excited about this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Thank you, and thank you for all the work your board has put in.
Item 1.6.4, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association. Item 1.7, Communications, none. Item 1.8, Board of Trustee Business, none. Item 1.9, Board Reports. Item 1.9.1, Treasurer's Report, July 31st, 2014. No action is necessary. Item 1.9.2, President's Report. Item 1.9.2.1, Dr. Sarata will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events at the college.
Chair Fierro, members of the board, in line with what we just heard from the Hispanic Heritage Committee, I was asked to present on a panel discussion at the Texas Lyceum meeting in South Texas. This year's theme was with regards to the changing face of Texas, the growing number of Latinos in public education and the workforce. The information that Hispanic Heritage Committee was putting forward is very timely given the conversations that were occurring at the Texas Lyceum. We have confirmed with Dr. Byron McClenny that he will conduct the strategic planning workshop for the Board of Trustees and I on September 26th and 27th. We will continue to work on the agenda, the draft agenda, go back and forth with Dr. McClenny and share that with the Board of Trustees for input and revision as well. Classes officially begin for the new semester this Sunday, the 24th. So we're looking forward to the fall of 14 beginning. And finally, I'd like to let the board know that the Smith Group, JJR, and Mijares and Mora are master planners. They're moving forward with the college's master plan, as well as with the design of Fort Bliss. They have done a preliminary analysis of data with regards to catchment areas and market penetration for the college and are looking at projections. They will present to the Board of Trustees on your regularly scheduled day of the meeting, September 17th, and we will work with the board to try and have an earlier meeting than the traditional meeting so that there's a lot of information that they want to present to the Board of Trustees. So I would suggest that we look at a 4 o'clock start if that's possible with the Board of Trustees. And again, Pam and I and the staff will work with each of you to ensure that they've done a great job. I've been very pleased with the input from all of the faculty and staff. Mr. Gallardo, Dr. Roberts have played point on this and done a tremendous job. The campus deans, each of the vice presidential areas, everyone has been involved in the master planning process and will continue to be involved. When they come in September, this will be their third day. They will arrive on Monday, and they have a schedule to meet at each of the campuses as well as at the ASC to review information, to take input from constituents and from the college community as a whole. So again, I'm very pleased with the progress that the Smith Group and JJR, Mijares, and Mora have made with our master planning process. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Sarata.
Item 1.10, Consent Docket, includes items 3.2 and 8.1.
Move to approve.
Questions? Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 2.0, Administration, none. Item 3.1, Full-Time Institutionally Funded Actions.
Motion approved 3.1 and 3.3.
Second.
Item 3.3, Appointment of new tenured faculty, reappointment of continuing probationary faculty, and authorization for the President to enter into written employment contracts and contract addenda for the 2014-15 academic year with tenured and probationary faculty members. Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 3.4, reappointment of continuing regular classified staff, professional support, and administrative staff, and authorization for the President to enter into written employment contracts and contract addenda effective September 1st, 2014, with the employees listed.
Move to approve 3.4 and 3.5.
Second.
Item 3.5, authorization for the President to employ part-time faculty and staff for the 2014-15 fiscal year. Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Aye. Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 3.6, information items, no action is required. Item 4.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval to renew contracts with the awarded purchasing cooperative vendors for the district-wide purchase of office products in an amount not to exceed $750,000 in the aggregate.
Move to approve 4.1 and 4.2.
Second.
3 seconds.
Item 4.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract award for property crime liability and cybersecurity insurance with USI Southwest Incorporated in the amount of $482,581.
I have a question on that. What was the amount before the increase?
Dr. Graham, last year, the amount for commercial property was $202,807, or an increase of $14,901. And that increase is due to an increase in coverage. And the liability was $243,711, or an increase about a little bit over $7,000. And that is due to an increase in educational liability claims. And the cyber...
An increase in claims?
In claims for educational liability.
We did. We had claims.
We did.
An increase.
So with that increase, then obviously our insurance goes up a bit. The cybersecurity is a brand new coverage that we are doing for this current fiscal year, or this coming up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Aye. Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 4.3, consideration and deliberation on the increase of $4,061 to a 2-year software maintenance contract with Aleutian Higher Education for Banner Enterprise Resource Planning, originally approved in the amount of $434,317.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Aye. Dr. Graham?
No.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 4.4, consideration and deliberation on the approval to purchase copy paper from OK Paper Centers for the Instructional Service Centers and Academic Computing Service Labs for fiscal year 2014-15 in an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla? Aye. Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 4.5, consideration and deliberation on the approval to award contracts for advertising to various television stations for fiscal year 2014-15 in the amount not to exceed $105,000 in the aggregate.
Motion to approve 4.5 and 4.6.
I'd like to amend that motion and if we could, to include items 4.7, since it also deals with advertising and marketing.
Okay. I accept your amendment.
I have a question.
And I have a discussion.
Yeah, okay.
And I have a question.
Can you read 4.6 and 4.7, and then we have questions.
Okay, item 4.6, consideration and deliberation on the approval to award contracts for advertising to various radio broadcasters for fiscal year 2014-15 in the amount not to exceed $95,000. And item 4.7, consideration and deliberation on the approval to award a contract to various outdoor advertisers for fiscal year 2014-15 in the amount not to exceed $70,000 in the aggregate.
Thank you, Pam. Ms. Solis, you were first, and then Dr. Graham, please.
Is it too late to make an amended motion, just to include item 4.8, because it talks about the same subject matter?
We need legal counsel opinion on that. I'll accept your amendment to your
I
amendment.
think you can accept it. If you want to vote on it, you may do that.
I'm sorry, Pam.
Can you read 4.8, please?
And I mean, then I just figured we could all talk about all the questions related to
Okay.
advertising.
Item 4.8, consideration and deliberation on the approval to award a contract to various cinema vendors for advertising for fiscal year 2014-15 in the amount not to exceed $65,000.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Solis, you have questions?
This is 4.5, 6, and 7.
No, and 8.
And 8.
5, 6, 7, 8.
8.
Shamazo.
Yes, and who is here to
We
talk
have
about
we
this?
have Ms. Shaughnessy, we have Mr. Heine, we have Mr. Gallardo, all here,
Okay.
and I am here as well.
All right.
Ms. Solis.
So this is all before my time. I think my question on all this, just to be able to make a solid determination on the budget and whatnot, is in these areas. 4.5 deals with television stations. 4.6 deals with radio stations, broadcasters. 4.7 is the outdoor advertisers, and 4.8 is the cinema vendors. Have we collected data as far as the success or the viability of how advertising in these different media or venues with these vendors actually bring in enrollment or recruitment? And I'm thinking about, for example, I don't know, I was at the doctor's office or somewhere, and it said, how did you hear about us? Through a friend, through the radio, through television, through an advertisement at the movie. But you get what I'm talking about. And I'm just curious because it just seems like so much money, and I understand marketing costs a lot of money, so I'm not trying to say that it's not worth it. But what I want to see is, are we really... is there a better way to spend the money? And we're doing the big billboards, and I guess we're doing the small billboards with Mr. O'Donnell. And I know Dr. Graham's going to talk about that. All these are sole sources, because I guess you can't go to anybody else. But in one of the backup documentation, which I really would like to commend Ms. Cordell in providing the statistics, the national statistics, it says that people are more apt, the younger audience are more apt to not necessarily watch the news, but say through the radio. So radio is more effective. And I'm just curious if there's been any research either through by any department, I guess it would be marketing, that would be able to tell the board, okay, from this particular vendor or this particular marketing mechanism, we were able to capture X number. And I don't know if what I'm asking is impossible. It probably is, but I just would like to have some feedback or dialogue on, if it hasn't been done, if there's a way that maybe we could be able to track, start tracking, so we can make more intelligent, I guess, decisions. Kind of a long-winded question.
I'd like to
Sorry.
ask Mr. Heine to maybe respond to that question.
Oh boy, you're lucky.
Good evening. We work with our institutional research department here at the college, and it just started last year. I want to say it was the graduation for the fall semester 2013, the exit survey that they give to all the students graduating. We asked them how they heard about the college through a whole host of things: family, friends, teacher, counselor, and then media, and then we break down the media. And radio is one of the top, and the cinema commercials come in second. We are working with Dr. K and institutional research to broaden that to get incoming students, and it's something that we're working on together to get a longer, more in-depth survey on how we know where we're spending our money correctly.
And so with that information, has there ever been discussion that maybe we move more monies to radio and cinema versus, say, television? We know television is, extremely expensive. And the billboards, I mean, we're driving at 60 miles per hour, usually probably more, others higher than that, but along the interstate. And it just seems like, we want to get the biggest bang for our buck. And I'm just curious if you've already gotten a little bit of that information that radio and cinemas, capture the more of a captive audience because they're in the car listening, or they're seated watching a movie. Their attention can be more focused. Has there ever been any dialogue, just sort of like maybe shifting monies to the ones that the people are saying in their exit surveys are where they're getting the information or seeing the visibility of our college?
Yes, we are doing that, and we are this year shifting the billboard. We don't want to totally cut it out because it is a viable advertising source. Everybody drives to work every day on the freeway, but we have lowered what we're spending on billboards from approximately $90,000 to approximately $60,000 this year because of that. We do realize radio is important, and we go to Dr. Serrata during the year to get additional monies, and we come before you, to have you accept it. And most of that money last year did go to a raise in radio. It's just that actually, they're very close. Radio is almost nowadays just as expensive as television is, depending on where you put your monies. But as I said, we are cutting back on, the billboards because we do know that the radio and the theater, we're right now in every theater in town. So there really isn't much more we can raise that. You're going to be in the movie theater and everything. We did try to do some web advertising with the movie theater chain, when people look up what time the movie is. And we'll be sharing that with you when we do our presentation next month. But those numbers were not very good in what is known as click-through rates, when people click on our ad on the thing. So we pulled that back this year. So we're always changing, what monies we spend here and there, and who we're going for and what our audience is.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. I also appreciate the attachments that were provided. That was very informative.
Vice Graham, I'm sorry.
Aren't we due to have a presentation here at the next board meeting from the marketing department? Because I think we're jumping the opportunity to learn more about it by voting on it. I want to point out that between what we voted on before and what we're voting now, it's pretty much close to $500,000, okay? And what are we getting for that? Did we have a huge increase in enrollment? Is that how we're measuring that was effective, the $500,000 we're spending on that?
Okay, the $500,000 was last fiscal year.
So I'm just looking at what we approved at the last board meeting and what we have on the table now, which is the 105, the 95, the 70, and the 65. So my question is, if we're really going to live by data-driven decisions, then what is the data that supports that we are going to be getting our money's worth on this? Because I want to see what the goals are. Are they measurable? Do we have a coordinated plan that includes every department from the college, the counseling, the admissions, everything? What else are we doing besides the ones that the radio and that? Because when Dr. Serrata took a walk through one of our high schools, I was quick to point to him that we had advertisements from Western Technical, from this, from that, and nothing from the community college. Do we have someone that goes out there and takes these flyers and posts them or gives them to the students? So there's a lot that we are paying for, but are we getting our money's worth? Is the advertisement coordinated district-wide, so that every department is contributing ideas, showcasing what we're doing? Do we have a person that goes out to the community, to different gatherings to speak on behalf of the college, to advertise it at the schools? I guess I need to see that there's more a strategic plan. These are the goals. This is how we measure them, and that's why we know that the money we're pumping into marketing is working.
We, marketing department and many other departments here at the college are involved in an enrollment task force where admissions, registration, IT, counseling, along with marketing, meet every month, and we discuss different ideas and strategies on how to better get the word out about the college, and also to better the other area, which is kind of in trouble, the retention of students that are already here. Our recruitment office is in schools almost weekly, bringing the word out to the schools from kindergarten up through 12th grade. That's our recruitment department does that, and they're in the schools all the time.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm in and out of 45 schools, in and out all the time, and I've never seen anybody. It doesn't mean you're lying. I'm just saying I personally haven't seen them, and I'm at the schools. For example, we could take some of that money and have some kind of luncheon or a banquet for all the retirees from the college, invite them, showcase to them what we've done within the last year or so, give them some pamphlets, ask them to help us be ambassadors to recruit students or to encourage everybody. That would be very cost effective, and it would be tapping on the talent of those people that retired. And then we would have maybe 500 ambassadors out there helping us spread the word. Things that are beyond what we are doing. Because unless you can tell me today, or Dr. Serrata, that yes, we had a huge enrollment, I'm sorry, but we're not getting our money's worth, in my opinion.
Dr. Graham, I think those are all fair points, and I could tell you that we have a huge increase in enrollment, but I wouldn't be truthful if I told you that. What we're looking at is you're absolutely correct. We've taken a much more coordinated effort. Are we as clear as we need to be? No. But we're moving in that direction. We did appoint an enrollment task force, of which Mr. Heine went ahead and covered in somewhat detail the different players that are at the enrollment task force, including marketing. We're trying to ensure that we have a much more integrated approach. As you see from the documents, there's much more data included on the reach of these particular stations. The language of sole source, I understand your concern, and we've talked about this with the staff as far as what the laws are, as opposed to, well, we say we're doing sole source with ABC because that's the only ABC affiliate. So from my perspective, I understand the law. I just don't know if it's truly sole source, so to speak, because that Channel 7 is the only ABC affiliate. But you'll see a much more coordinated effort, much more data that's being utilized. What I will encourage our team to look at is an entrance survey. We have mechanisms in place that we obviously will work with faculty and instruction, but our Education 1300, one of the courses that many of our students take, one of the entrance online survey could be, how did you hear about the college? That's the kind of data that I'm looking for as well. Again, this is leaps and bounds ahead of where we were at this time last year with the coordination of marketing, with ensuring that we're using data to make these decisions. What I'd ask the board to entertain, this doesn't mean we will spend this money. This is to start the contracts that we have for this coming fiscal year. So we can amend these, and we can have at the September meeting, when we have marketing, provide a full report to the Board of Trustees on our efforts, have additional data. But I will not be able to say we can tell that this amount and this population came to the college because of this particular marketing piece yet. That is the goal. That's where we're headed. And I certainly appreciate it. And I asked the same hard questions as far as this is how much additional, and Mr. Heine and Joyce can tell you, this is how much additional resources that we've provided. How do we know that those resources are being utilized most effectively? We are making progress in that. Are we completely there yet? No. But again, and Mr. Garrido, correct me if I'm wrong, we can approve this without saying we're going to spend this total amount of money. But this is so that we can begin the contracts, in particular as we go into the new fiscal year on September 1 to move forward.
The problem in approving them, in my opinion, we should have had the presentation prior to having to approve this again.
That's
that
fair.
didn't happen, and the problem with approving it is that then it just continues on the path that it's been on.
Well, we do have marketing on the agenda for September. That is going to occur. And I will also tell you, I'm the same way. I mean, I see the college going rate of where we are in the region. It's not where it should be at 61.5%. It exceeds the state average, which is 57%, but it's far below the national average of 68.2%. So we do have to work on creating that college going culture. The economy, we have an inverse relationship with the economy. Unemployment has reached historic lows. We're at 6.7% in El Paso. And yet I still know that we need to see more students going to college, any college. Now, if they go, 88% of them either go to EPCC or UTEP. We just need to encourage more to go, show the fruits of higher education to the population. All that said, 40 of the 50 community colleges currently are in enrollment declines. And so I don't use the state as an excuse in any manner. I think that we still have more work to do. We have much more of a coordinated effort. Again, what I'd ask the board to entertain is moving forward with the caveat that we will present the information, and changes that the board chooses to make, we can still make those changes as we go forward.
Thank you, Dr.
And
Sanata.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
I really agree with Carmen, because that's been one of my pet peeves just in Tornillo and Fabens. I have never seen, you go into the school and you, like she said, you have all these schools that it says enter or go to Park University. I've never seen one, and this is not the first time I've mentioned it. I mentioned it several times that I have never seen any in the brochure, poster on the board, nothing.
And it's something, no, Mrs. Quintanilla, it's something that we will continue to work on. We will continue to ensure that we are represented in each of our respective school districts. You all know how data oriented I am. I look at our enrollments from each of the 12 school districts that we're affiliated with, and we enroll more students from every single school district save one that come to the college versus going to UTEP or anywhere else in the state. The only one that we currently don't get the most students from is EPISD. UTEP enrolls about 998 students from EPISD. We enroll 879, if I'm not mistaken. That's the only district that actually enrolls more students than us from any particular district.
And Ms. Solis?
Thank you, Chair. And I would just ask Mr. Heine or Dr. Serrata for the presentation in September, if I'd like to see what the amount that we spent last year in for these particular vendors. I mean, maybe it's something that Josette could pull up easily, just because you had said, for example, that we have scaled down on the outdoor billboards.
Certain areas, yes.
Right, so you said we cut down to like 90,000 or something. So I'd like to see that. And I just think that we're all on the same page as a collective, as a body, that we're striving for the same mission and goal. But I also think that one of the best and most powerful marketing tools is testimonials. I mean, it's from our people. I mean, it's from the people that have had good experiences at the college that can go out and recruit. And so I just would like to just throw that out there for thought.
Well, just like the enrollment task force that we're on, we're always taking, recommendations, and we're just not out there on an island, and we're always, taking recommendations and amending how we do things, looking at national trends, local trends, any information we can gather, and it's never just the same thing all the time, and we're always trying to, better how we, spend the taxpayers' money.
Jim, thank you very much. Those are great answers to the questions that we
I
had.
have one more question, sir.
Oh, okay, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Are we utilizing the TV station? I sent Dr. Serrata just a caption of the Socorro webpage that it's running a little program. It's just like a couple of minutes long, but it showcases the best things that have happened in the district for the week or whatever. Do we use that medium to maybe showcase, that's not going to cost us per se a big chunk of $90,000 or something, to be using that more effectively. We have it. Do we use it?
We send college information out to all sources, press, school districts,
I'm sorry, I mean, do we use the one we have in-house?
EPCC TV.
You mean EPCC TV?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, we're on there all the time. We run our advertisements. We run programs promoting the school. Oh, yes, we're on there constantly. I couldn't give you an exact percentage, but yes, we use it all the time.
And that's under marketing, or is that under?
No, the EPCC TV is under information technology. But we work together.
Jim, again, thank you very much for addressing the questions that we had for you. There were great answers. Pam, we have a motion and
we need a second.
A second on the motion. I thought someone seconded it.
You do?
Yeah, we do.
Ms. Solis seconded.
Ms. Solis seconded it, and then she amended.
But she didn't second.
I don't think I seconded, but I will second it if you want. I second them.
Second all of them.
I seconded all of them. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, who made the motion?
I did.
Mr. Fierro.
And then it was for?
It's to include items 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, and 4.8.
Right. Okay. All right, Pam, call a question, please.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla. Aye. Dr. Graham.
No.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 4.9.
Pam, I'm sorry. Rick, has someone opened the door for for Judge Haggerty? He seems to be locked out.
Maybe it's intentional.
Please let him in, Rick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pam. Oh, thank you.
Item 4.9, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract renewal with Innovative Interfaces Incorporated for annual maintenance of Sierra, the college's library system, in the amount of $72,744.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
No.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 4.10, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract extension with People Admin Incorporated to provide web-based recruitment, position, and performance management with People Admin, Inc. in the amount of $69,393.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a question.
Pam?
This is kind of difficult to navigate. Have you tried applying for a job?
I do.
No, Dr. Graham, I have not tried to apply for a job with the college, but just to let you know, we're in a process of procuring, looking at a system. This approval here is actually for a period up to 12 months to run parallel once we have made a decision on a different system.
Okay. So this
So it
is
is in
not
a
the
process.
system that has the application process.
That is
available,
correct.
which
Yes,
is
ma'am.
very difficult to navigate and takes 4 hours to apply.
Well, my understanding is
That's
that
if you're a fluent reader and user of technology.
Dr. Graham, you know you can't apply, right?
I applied just for the heck of it to see if it's true that it, that it throws you off.
Does it?
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Call a question, Pam.
It's complicated.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty. Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Can I ask another question on this, even though it's already approved? Just on the performance evaluations, who's tracking all of that?
Human Resources is tracking all the performance evaluation that are completed by each area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How's it going, Doc?
Item 4.11, consideration and deliberation on the adoption of the certificate of order setting tax rate of $0.128122 per $100 valuation for fiscal year 2014-15.
Motion to approve? Ms. Payne, you have something to read?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Order setting tax rate. Whereas the Board of Trustees of said district has received, accepted, and approved the certified appraisal roll for the 2014 tax year, and whereas the district has calculated those tax rates and made such other calculations as required by law, and whereas the Board of Trustees of said district wishes to adopt a tax rate, therefore be it ordered by the Board of Trustees of the El Paso County Community College District that the maintenance and operation tax rate for the district for the 2014 tax year be set and adopted in accordance with Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code entitled the Property Tax Code as follows. Operations tax rate, $0.128122 per $100 valuation for a total of $0.128122 per $100 valuation. Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla. Dr. Graham.
No.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 5.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval to award a contract to AO General Contractor Incorporated for remodel of the Valle Verde Student Services Center in the amount not to exceed $2,035,671.
Motion to approve 5.1 and 5.2?
Second?
I have a question, Chairman.
Can you read 5.2 first, Pam, please?
Yes, sir. Item 5.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of expenditures with various vendors to purchase building materials, supplies, and/or services as needed for the district for the fiscal year 2014-15.
Ms. Solis?
Yes, I'm just curious how this will affect the master plan, Dr. Serrata. We're approving $2 million of remodeling at the Valle Verde Student Services Center, and I would think that the what's it called, the Smith Group would have already, looked at it, and did they consider this remodeling, and they're going to base then their survey on this? I just want to make sure we're not, jumping the gun to go forward on a remodeling, and then Smith Group comes back and says, this really isn't the best use of how we would have projected, and then we're back to, back
No,
to the drawing
absolutely.
board, so to
This
speak.
work had begun long before we went into contract with the Smith Group and Mijares and Mora locally. Mr. Lobato's here, Mr. Gallo's here, Ms. Shaughnessy, but yes, we share all of the information with the Smith Group. They understand the kinds of recommendations that are going forward with regards to renovation. We're trying to ensure that we utilize these facilities to the best of our ability. We're trying to make sure that is our largest campus. We're trying to ensure that we're meeting the basic needs of our students and faculty and staff as well with the renovation on many of the facilities in that particular campus. It's just such a highly used campus. We want to make sure that we utilize and we want to make sure that we remain student friendly. So we continue to review even as we move forward. Is this in the best interest of our students, faculty, and staff? But we do share that information with the Smith Group, so they are aware.
And it'll fit in with the master plan.
It will.
Okay. And what's the projected date of completion?
Yeah, approximately a year.
Approximately a year.
Sir, could you come to the microphone? Thank you.
And I think you said, Rick, that it would be approximately a year to
Because then we don't have your answer recorded.
Okay. The first answer is it's approximately 270 days from award of contract.
Okay. But the award, you're recommending the board to approve the vendor, AO General
Contractor.
Okay, so, and then it's complete interior renovation. What happens? What happens while the interior is being renovated, as far as the not the displacement, but sort of the temporary placement of?
The plan is to continue to operate the building. The building will be renovated in sections. We currently have part of the building not occupied, so when we will actually start with that area, then move people into that area, move them around, will be kind of domino effect, moving them around as we complete it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is more to the RFP on the selection. The only concern that I had with that was the low rating that was given to the company on safety. It's on your ratings X factor. Either one of you can answer it. There were two areas. One, that the low score because of no past experience with the college. Is that why they have a 2.4? That wasn't as concerning to me as the safety issue. And
in some cases, ma'am, and I have to find that exactly, but as just going from memory, we had some of these companies did not respond. They didn't provide their safety record.
Well,
when
this
that
one
occurs,
did, but it's very low. So if we're gonna, I guess my point being that we need to make sure that they understand that a 2-point rating is not good enough.
oh, I understand.
For the
You mean
safety.
the total score for the safety?
Right, it's below average.
But it's above the other ones, so, I mean, it's the same as two others and above two others.
Right, but it's still below average. It might be the same as the two that didn't get it, but it's still below average, which means that there's something there that doesn't.
Well, almost all these companies,
the
when they did provide their safety information, did have accidents on their records, which is not uncommon for contractors.
But it's not acceptable either.
Well, we can only base our information on what is provided, so if it was there, would they grade it accordingly?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm looking for is just a reassurance that you will be speaking to them about the importance of their safety to increase their vigilance, so that next time that they bid on a contract, we'll have a better score for them.
I can tell you that when they're on our when they're on our property, yes, we are diligent. We go through and we speak with contractors. They do have weekly safety meetings. We also meet with them weekly and reinforce that need. And on our campuses, in the past history, I don't believe we've had an accident at all. But this is over all their projects, so it's it's a different score.
Okay. And we've done business with them before?
AO, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Any more questions?
Thank you, Rick.
I have a question. You know, I'm very pleased that this is a local company, but we're no doubt going to continue to have contracts for construction and other major work in our properties. And I have been thinking, you know, the city just adopted an ordinance to give special consideration to the local companies. Would it be possible, and that's up to legal, to see whether we could adopt some kind of policy that would give certain preference or a certain amount of points to the local-based companies?
I would have to defer that question to legal and Mr. Gallardo.
Well, I would like for that to be explored and for a response to be given, because definitely we need to look at the economy of our city. These are the people that send their children to our schools. And so if we can help in any way, definitely we should. So, Mr. Legal Advisor?
Well, maybe, Ms. Robles, maybe we should direct Dr. Serrata to work with legal on that.
Okay, would you?
Yes, please, ma'am.
We'll have something for you next month on.
Didn't we bring that up already before?
Many
Yes.
Many times.
That has been brought up before, and I admit my knowledge of what the city did is strictly limited to the newspaper. But we can, and I believe we've done this before, Mr. Gallardo, there have been some minimal amount of points, especially in construction areas where you want someone local that is justified because they have people here on the ground that can do the work. So I do not believe that it would be amiss to, in your overall points, to give some small amount of points for that. And I can't recall if we've done that. Well,
Mr. Dunbar, wouldn't it be better for you to do the research as Dr. Serrata has
no, I
requested?
prefer just to guess and public.
I think that's where we're at right now.
Well, you do a lot of that, but having said that,
Well, I'm generally
Mr.
right,
Gallardo
though.
could do the research because he's going to charge $1 million just to do the research. Mr. Gallardo is on staff,
But remember, it's local.
local to your pocket.
Well, and where do I spend it?
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Thank you, Ms. Robles. Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro. Item 6.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval to renew the contract with Mesilla Valley Training Institute in the amount of $255,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
Here we go again with a local. We don't have any trucking company that is local that instead of the Mesilla trucking company? That's out of state.
I'm sure we do have local trucking companies, Ms. Quintanilla. The current agreement we have with the Mesilla Valley is a longstanding agreement from 2006. You'll see that the award is for 1 year. Typically, we would bring a 3-year renewal to you. But in light of the fact we're doing the district-wide master plan and looking at some workforce issues, we decided to go with a 1-year extension. And once we have the feedback from the master planners, take a look at all the agreements that we have in place in workforce and see if we want to continue those or rebid those. So this is just for the current year to keep our students in line to get their CDLs.
And I would just note, I mean, the address listed is, well, the Training Institute is on Donovan Drive, so I think that's in El Paso last time I checked. But I don't know, maybe it's not. My question is, it says in the explanation, Steve, that the amount should not exceed $255,000 for the year, and that's based on enrollment, obviously, and that amount is an estimate only. But what's that estimate based on? Was this something that, is that how much we spent last year, or?
We currently run approximately 80 students per year through the program. The tuition is $4,150. So this is based on historic data. That's me. Or? So it's based on historic enrollment.
Okay. Thank you.
This might be a a question that everybody knows the answer to but me. The trucks are here at the campus?
No, Ms. Quintanilla, that we contract with Mesilla Valley Trucking, so everything's at their facility. We send our students to Mesilla Valley Trucking to go through the CDL program.
And where is that located?
It's on Donovan.
I'm sorry?
It's on Donovan Street.
So the kids
Way
or
over
the
on the west
students
side.
have to pay, have to drive over there
Yes,
to
ma'am.
Donovan?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you don't get any from Tornillo.
Huh?
You don't have any from Tornillo.
I know.
Could I add just a brief historic perspective? As I recall, the college, because I remember seeing the trucks, the college used to have its own training program in this regard, and it became untenable,
That's correct.
ineffective, and every other
Costly.
negative term. Yes. And so an agreement was struck several years ago, if I recall, Steve.
06, yeah.
Yeah, that's many years ago. With Mesilla Valley to do this, and it was primarily to get us out of that particular business, as it were, which of those of you who are devotees of the Texas Tort Claims Act, vehicular torts are the one thing we can get tagged for. So there was a variety of reasons to do this, and that was one of them. So just a little historic footnote. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 6.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of contract renewals for online databases and electronic books with various vendors in amounts not to exceed $206,166 in the aggregate.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
No.
No. Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 7.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract to support required academic assessment testing of students with the College Board for fiscal year 2014-15 in an amount not to exceed $120,000.
Motion to approve 7.1 and 7.2.
Second.
Second.
Item 7.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract award with Night Eyes Protective Services Incorporated to provide private security guard services on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $53,000 annually.
Questions? Pam, question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
No on 7.1, yes on 7.2.
Mr. Haggerty.
Yes on 7.1 and 2.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 7.3, consideration and deliberation on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for new courses.
Move to approve items 7.3 and 7.4.
Second.
Item 7.4, consideration and deliberation on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for revised courses.
Questions? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintanilla.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
The board will now go into closed or executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act to deliberate on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property as authorized by Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, to consult with legal counsel regarding pending, contemplated, or threatened litigation or settlement offers as authorized by Section 551.0711, or on a matter in which the duty of legal counsel arises under Section 551.0712 of the Code, to deliberate on the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee as authorized by Section 551.074 of the Code, and to deliberate regarding college district security as authorized by Section 551.076 of the Code.